right, here we go. Welcome, everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast online radio, TV, and blab network, restoring vitality to you and to the planet. I'm your co-host, Scott Patton. Joining us, as usual, is Martin Patella, health coach at Life Enthusiast. Martin, hemp oil, not hemp seed oil, which you can buy in any grocery store, but hemp oil is continuing to shake up the medical establishment, cause headaches galore for government organizations, and cause controversy all over the place. Is it legal? Is it illegal? Is it safe? Is it unsafe? Does it have CBDs in it, which it should or not? And so we want to deal with some of these questions today. And
yeah, I am astounded. We have done 3 or 4 interviews about this already. And of course, the people that are asking the questions have not seen these, or had to have not seen those, or if they did, they slept through them, because they're asking questions that suggest that the level of disinformation in the field is just astounding.
And it seems to be increasing.
No, maybe just more people asking. You know, we're just seeing more newbies coming in who know nothing but feel really certain about what they do know. I see a lot of that, you know, people just certain and just really certain about something, except it's probably not true.
Right. Okay, well, let's start with our favorite scapegoat, the FDA. So the Drug and Food and Drug Administration, they have come out and they have said, buyer beware. This hemp oil stuff saying it has CBD, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. And they've sent out letters after testing saying that,
Okay, well, let's unpack this one. So first of all, FDA is the governmental organization whose stated job is to regulate food and drugs, Food Drug Administration. What they really do is they are working for the people who are paying their bills, their payroll. And those are the people who hire them as regulators. So the biggest businesses are paying the biggest chunks of that budget. And so whatever they want gets proposed and then promoted and then implemented by the FDA. And so the biggest beef of the big business is that the little business is nipping at their heels and annoying them.
And for some reason, they're not bothering to create products along these lines because probably they can't get $15,000 a pill.
Well, so what I was trying to say is that the easiest way to kill access to something for small business is to tire them by administrative overhead. Like the more difficult you make it to get into the market, the harder it is for the small business to get in. It's really easy for a 1,000-person company to add 1 or 2 full-time compliance officers into the payroll. No big deal.
Right, but when you're working in your own little lab and you're everything, including the janitor, all of a sudden you can't afford to bring that person on.
Right. So that's the official, no, not official. That's the actual outcome of what we see that the FDA is doing to the market. It's regulating. They don't know how to unregulate. They only know how to regulate. So they pile on and regulate more. And I would like to say that, well, there are 2 possible systems of dealing with it. One is called permissive and the other one's called punitive. Okay. Canadians have gone for the permissive system, meaning this: you cannot do anything in the space until you get a permission from the government to do it. So it's hard to get the permission, but after you get the permission, they can't sue you because they permitted you. The punitive system says, go ahead, get in, get involved, but boy, if you screw up, we're going to sue you, punish you, just get you out of business. We'll take all of your money and your children and put you in slavery.
And unfortunately, in both cases, it's somewhat subjective.
Well, justice and legal process are hardly the same thing.
Right. Okay, so the FDA came out and they said we have sent letters to several makers of cannabinoid CBD oils derived from hemp, telling them to stop making medical claims about their products' ability to treat disease. Many sellers of hemp-based cannabinoid products who advertise their products as legal in all 50 states because they're derived from industrial hemp have been making claims that their product are rich in CBD and can be used for the diagnosis, cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of diseases, according to the FDA. The FDA, which considers CBD an unproved new drug, says these companies are misbranding the products and issuing false claims.
Okay. Let's just stop here.
All right.
There's more to it, but let's just stop here.
Yeah.
So, number one, claim. So when I tell you that this apple juice with its malic acid is going to soften your gallstones and dissolve them and help you get rid of your gallbladder pain, I have just turned apple juice into a drug. If I say, oh, drink apple juice, it will make you feel better and eliminate, well, I'm within the box of what's possible. But the moment I say it will deal with your gallbladder, whatever, gallstones, I have turned it into a drug. Likewise, with the CBD, as long as I say it will calm you down and it will lower the nerve responses or calm down your nervous system, I'm within the safe box because I'm making a statement about function, not a claim about medical function. So if I say it will stop seizures, I'm not sure if the FDA sees the term seizure as a medical illness condition or as a symptom. Because if I say it will stop sneezing, it should be okay. If I say it will stop rhinitis, it should be not okay, because that's a medical condition in the diagnostic book.
So we kind of have two territories. One territory, which is the medical box, and the other, which is kind of just sort of living normally.
Yeah. So some people have put on their websites, this will cure fibromyalgia, this will cure high blood pressure, this will cure multiple sclerosis. And when they do that, they are indeed in contravention of what they are allowed to do, because they are not describing a drug, they're talking about a natural supplement. So FDA then has decided, well, if people are going to be making claims like this, we're going to have to take it off the market. There's no way you can sell CBD oil because it's an unapproved medical device. That's what Google told me. They told me to get it off the website because it's an unapproved medical device.
That's weird, because I think of a device as like a pen or a physical thing that I use to do something. I don't think of it as an apple.
Well, it's just language, right? This is regulators stepping on each other, stepping on me.
Okay. So the other part of this issue was the FDA issued several warning letters to 7 companies, which I don't believe any are companies that we deal with.
Oh, yes, they are.
Are they?
There are 2 phases to it. Earlier on, maybe a year and a half ago, letters went out to companies because they checked the content. And they said, you're claiming to have 0.6%, whatever, 8% in it, and you don't. We have had that. There were all kinds of companies cheating on content.
Okay.
That's nothing new. You know, this is something. I remember a report came out that somebody went to Walmart and GNC and analyzed the supplements that are on the shelf that were claiming this much vitamin C, this much vitamin E, whatever. Turned out that there wasn't even 30% of the.
Wow. Kind of reminds me of the stories when you go to the bar and you find out that the whiskey's been watered down as he's pouring it in.
With whiskey and tea?
Whiskey and tea, yeah. Okay, so what do you say to...
Sorry, there was the newer round of...
Right.
This went to all, no, not all, to many companies, several of which we actually distribute. And they were told to get the stuff off their website and stop making claims and stop calling it CBD. So some of them are arguing it legally, saying, no, you cannot be telling us to stop because you don't control this. And others are saying, okay, fine, have it like that. We're selling hemp oil. Hemp oil is legal, and you can't tell us. And so what used to be called CBD oil, 300 milligrams of CBD per ounce, is now called the CBD, no, not CBD, the hemp oil, gold, 300. We're not telling you anything about anything. You have to figure it out on your own. If you're a savvy consumer, you'll figure it out. If you're a regulator, you can't touch me.
Okay.
So that is the current state of affairs, is we have this major pushback from the pharmaceutical industry going back at the wild and woolly world of CBD.
Right. Well, we're in a situation where we have a lot of small manufacturers that are creating CBD rich oils from hemp, industrial hemp. They're not using the bud where the pot comes from that you get high, that's high in THC. So, and for some reason, the pharmaceutical companies don't want to create their own brands of this stuff.
Well, let's start from the beginning then. There is such thing as generic chemical CBD. It's actually not that hard to make it in a lab. And I've seen chemical CBD 3,000 milligrams for $20 sold on Amazon. And it's imported from China, and it's not nature made, it's man made. What I don't know is how effective it is, because I haven't tried it. So
okay,
I don't know if we should trust it or not trust it. It's definitely not natural. In the world of vitamin C, we look down our noses on things that were not natural, that are the petroleum-based things. So I don't know why we should take a different attitude here.
Right. Well, and CBD is only one of a number of ingredients that are in the hemp. Or if you break down the hemp oil, CBD is one thing, and that's the one that's been identified as being good for this and this and this and this and that.
Yes.
But you don't know that there's an ABCD oil, their component in there that is also synergistic with it. And of course, if you're just creating that one molecule, you're missing all these other molecules. And that's the whole point of nature, right?
Yes, exactly right. Like we talked about this earlier. Like you take apple apart, you have water, sawdust, vitamin C, pigments, whatever. So
enzymes.
Yeah, of course, all the other stuff. And so which is the important part? Well, you can isolate the vitamin C and supplement the vitamin C, but it's not the whole thing. It's not what nature intended.
Right.
And there is no pharmacist that is smarter than nature or God, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Right. So it's been interesting as these kind of issues have come up, because there seems to be a backlash. And of course, you always wonder about trolls and paid people that are paid to go on sites to push a certain perspective. And with the idea that, there's not as much CBD in these things as people say, there's cheating going on, we need regulation. We need regulators to come in, and we need to regulate this whole industry and everything else, similar to lots of other industries for sure. But I just wanted to kind of get your, it's just kind of like, do we need the government's finger in every pie?
Well, I guess there are issues of standards and issue of regulation, right? And those are two different things. Like, for instance, in groceries, we have these standards where we have quality definitions. Like we know what choice level is and whatever. I forget all of that.
Grade A, grade B.
Yeah.
Grade A beef.
Yeah. So it meets certain standards. And of course, in an unregulated industry, there are no standards. And so the hemp, as we know it, is very new. So I don't know. I guess the only standard would be how close is the content of the bottle to what the label says is in it.
Right.
Am I getting what I think I'm paying for?
Right. And that's an issue always with all the foods that we buy, isn't it?
Right. And then the other one is that of regulation. And so the question is, do I need to regulate CBD? Well, do I need to regulate aspirin? Do I need to regulate Tylenol? Do I need to regulate alcohol, sugar, coffee, caffeine, that is? Give me your take on that. Should we regulate caffeine?
I think we have way too many laws and regulations as it is personally. So I don't think so. I think, but on the other hand, I think one of the jobs of government, which see, we get into this, this circle goes around and round, right? Like the job of government should be to make sure that the meat packing plants have a certain level of cleanliness, right? Well, what do you hear if you know anybody in the meat packing industry? There are not enough inspectors.
Right.
Right. So the government has all these regulations, and the only time they get enforced or anyone goes and checks is when there's an outbreak of salmonella or something, and they have to figure out which meatpacking plant it came from. And the meatpacking plant had not been inspected for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So the standards had dropped and dropped and dropped because, hey, it was like nobody's coming to check us out. So we need to make a little bit of extra money here. We need to shave a little bit there. I need to cut some costs here, and away you go. So you have the regulations. Do they get enforced? Do we have the people going around and checking? And that becomes the problem, right?
Right. So if you have a system that you are supposed to be able to trust, because the government says, trust us, we have it under control, you actually hand over your vigilance to the third party, to the government.
Yeah.
So it's a false sense of safety because they're actually not doing their job.
Right. And you know, as you were talking, what occurred to me was like the Norfolk virus on a cruise ship, right? And maybe the cruise ship wasn't doing its job. Maybe the cruise ship was doing its job. Like sometimes things just happen, right? Regardless of, you know, you can't regulate perfection. And we don't have perfection, and could be someone walks on with the virus, and then it spreads, and away you go, right? Yeah. Or so we get to this point where yes, we don't want to be in a total, like, where is the trust, right? Do you trust the manufacturer to have on his label what he says? Do you trust the distributor or the retailer that they have done their due diligence and they've put on their shelf a product that has on its label what's in the bottle?
The rarest commodity, trust.
And, we've had so many examples of misplaced trust and broken trust that it makes us all very cynical, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, and you were even saying that in some of these, some of the companies that we represent were also on this list and were checked. So of course, the first thing I'm thinking of is, well, were they on the list because they didn't have as much CBD in as they were supposed to?
No, they were checked and they passed. The ones we actually represent, they were on the good guy list.
They were on the good guy list. Okay, so that's important to say that, right?
Yep.
So what sets those people apart from the people that, for whatever reason, didn't have what they said they had? Do they check more? Do they test more? Do they
cheat intentionally?
Yeah. Or do
there are companies, there are businesses out there that are perfectly willing to dilute it and just get away with selling it once.
Right.
In this company, we offer customer satisfaction guarantee. So even after the purchase, even at the end of the bottle, if you decide that you feel that you have been cheated, we will try and settle with you to your satisfaction, customer satisfaction, which you try that with your pharmacy. Go buy yourself a bottle of penicillin, and at the end of the bottle, the doctor says, well, I guess it didn't work. We have to try a different one.
Right.
Ask for your money back.
Right.
Good luck.
That's for sure. Okay. So what I wanted to do now is just talk a little bit about something a little on topic, but a little bit off, and something that you just brought to my attention a couple hours ago. And that had to do with the pineal gland and cannabis, which I'm assuming is more about the use of medical marijuana than it is about CBD oils.
That had much to do with THC and smoking and all of that.
Okay, so first thing is, what's the pineal gland and why should we care?
So there are two pronunciations, pineal and pineal.
In other words, neither of my pronunciations.
And it got its name from its shape because it looks a lot like a pine cone. And it's in your brain, in behind here somewhere there. And in fact, it's there, behind there. It's the third eye.
The third eye, okay.
Right.
It's the mythical seat of spirituality and consciousness.
Yes, sir. Your ability to see and discern truth. So if your pineal gland is calcified, you're blind to the truth. You're a simple sheep willing to be led.
I see.
Ha! I'm just fibbing now. Anyway, so
it's important for the regulation of the daily rhythms that we go through and the production of hormones, for sure.
Yeah.
It helps us with our sleep.
You're actually catching me a little unprepared because, I mean, I can tell you that what it does and why it does. And we have been selling a product called Pineal, which is based on fulvic acid that's designed to detoxify your pineal gland. You tell me, you're probably reading it. What do they say about marijuana and pineal gland?
Well, first of all, it's about the pineal gland is one of the few glands that actually receives light, which is one of the reasons why it's called the third eye. It can actually, if you put a light up to your forehead, a flashlight up to your forehead, you can actually see it through the pineal gland. And so basically what they're talking about is it's in the perfect position it's not in the blood-brain barrier. It's on the outside of that. So anything you're putting into your blood, it goes into there. And it's essential to maintaining a healthy, positive mind state and is deeply concerned with emotional states in general. So when you consume psychiatric drugs, it affects all this activity in the pineal gland, as well as other parts of the brain. So cannabis itself, they've done some research on rats. It shows that the pineal gland contains a functional endocannabinoid system with receptor types 1 and 2, and the endogenous ligands that bind to them are also present. So what we have here is the signaling molecules known as the endocannabinoids, which you can also supplement using the hemp plant. But your body makes its own too. Right. So the study with the rats showed that THC reduced the activity of an enzyme called AANAT, and in doing so reduces the synthesis of melatonin. And it showed that this is a second study, or earlier studies also showed this. And
that's actually not that good.
Not that good. So
if you smoke too much dope with too much THC, you will have a lower melatonin level, which then means that you're going to have a harder time with your sleep.
But then the issue is smoking cannabis makes a lot of people sleepy.
Yes.
So
what the heck?
Yeah. So what the heck?
You will become dependent on having to smoke it to go to sleep.
So maybe that, so they talk about why this may or may not be, right? And
I wasn't sure that we should have gotten into this one.
Let me just see if I can get to the gist of the whole thing. They basically say that the pineal gland is crucial to our consciousness, and it is also has it's an area of consciousness altering compounds already. So when you've got all these other I was going to say psychedelic, I guess that's not really the right word, stuff going in.
Endocannabinoids, that group.
Yeah, it can really change your, you become more paranoid and all those sort of things.
I've seen that. I've heard of people, talked to people who have taken the full-bodied cannabis extract, especially the cooked, activated stuff, and had very unpleasant reactions. Very hard to live with paranoid problems, which is quite different from what happens when you take the low THC CBD only. We stopped hearing you, Scott. You went mute.
Sorry. There's a big difference between what makes us high and what can make us healthy when it comes to the hemp plant.
Right. So I've been hearing from people that some really like the THC effect because it helps them with sleep and it helps them settle down and all of that. And so when I quiz them on it, how about the CBD only? They say, well, they didn't feel the effect as strongly. So then I ask about the pain. Did the pain go away? And yes, the pain went away. They just didn't feel it, right? So it's as if some magic happened and the pain went away, but you didn't feel anything else. And they wanted to know that something's going on. So they were taking it with the THC as well, because it's strong feedback. You really did take something.
Right.
Oh, well, let's talk about this regulatory business some more. I wanted to highlight, I see thousands of people still saying things like, it's not legal in my state. So we need to explain the three things. There is medical marijuana, there is industrial hemp, and there is the extracts of that. And there's big discussion going on about there being a difference between hemp and marijuana. There are people who are saying the marijuana CBD is different from the hemp CBD. Well, we're into linguistics. The word hemp in English is marijuana in Spanish. And the Latin, the botanical name of this is cannabis. It's still the same plant. Now, there are three common varieties, indica, sativa, and gosh, I don't remember the name of the third one. And the sativa is very common for the industrial plant, and the indica is very common for the ganja that's grown in Asia, from which the hash oil that we get here is often made. So going back to regulations, hemp and all its extracts and products are illegal in all of the United States, except industrial hemp that's imported from other countries. And industrial hemp products are like the rope, hemp twine, the cloth, like sailcloth or canvas material. Can you imagine? Without hemp, there would have been no sailing back in Columbus Day. And the CBD that's extracted from the hemp plant using the same process that you would use to extract essential oil of lavender from the lavender plant, an organic solvent, which is different from hemp seed oil, which is extracted from the seeds of the plant the same way as sunflower seed oil is extracted from the sunflower seed, which is just pressure. So how do we get it clear to people that, yes, it's regulated. heavily regulated, and yes, it's exempted. What's not exempted is what's known as medical marijuana, which is hemp plant grown in the United States. That is the full-bodied plant that has usually both CBD and THC, although we have a large number of varieties to choose from. The very famous Charlotte's Web, which is very low THC, high CBD, or the other stuff that you buy for smoking to get yourself high. Are you with me, or are you reading stuff?
No, I'm with you. I was just trying to get my hand. So what you're basically saying is if the hemp stalks, not the buds, comes from outside of the United States and then is produced either outside of the United States or in the United States and then crosses borders between states, is not a problem.
Right. Totally exempted from regulation because it's industrial hemp.
This is why regulations are such a problem, right? When we talk about regulatory things. So basically, if I have a little farm and I plant a bunch of hemp in my backyard, and then I take the stalk and I do whatever I do, and I come up with an extract of an oily extract, and I try to sell it at the local farmers market, or if I take it across the state line to try and sell it there, that's illegal.
You can do this in Colorado. You can do this in Washington.
So you can do it in a few places and a few other places that you can't.
Right.
And so
but like, for instance, you can grow it in California so long as you're growing it for the medical marijuana dispensary purpose.
Not to make the oil.
Oh, you can make the oil, but you can only sell it through the medical dispensary.
I see.
Only to people who have prescription.
So some of it is prescribed and some of it isn't prescribed.
Well, the stuff that comes from the outside of the country and is classified as industrial CBD extract just goes around the country because it's industrial hemp. That same stuff, but now it was grown in the United States, has to be, by regulation, treated as medical marijuana and has to be tracked and just complex regulatory trouble for the people. So about the CBD oil from outside of the US, it has to be less than 0.03% THC, which means 300 parts per million. So if it's less than that, it'll pass. If it's more than that, it'll get confiscated, burned, and you get in trouble.
So if you take that stuff that was created outside the United States and then you were actually to make this same thing in the United States and try to sell it on the local grocery shelf, that would be illegal.
Right. Unless you're in Colorado.
Right. So that's really ridiculous. But on one hand, it's really ridiculous. On the other hand, at least we're able to get the hemp oil, right? Legally. Yes. You know, I mean, the good news is you can get the hemp oil. The bad news is it's kind of a silly thing that you just can't do it locally.
Right. Okay, so people, if you think that you cannot get access to CBD in the United States or other countries, you're wrong. You can get access. What you cannot get access to is local, in the United States grown material, unless you're in a state that has legislated medical marijuana and you are buying it through a dispensary, not through a distribution company such as ours.
So the last thing I want to say on this is, and this just popped into my head, was a couple of years ago, there was the old only eat food grown within 100 miles of where you live. So if you were living that lifestyle, you would not be able to take hemp oil.
Unless you grew your own.
Well, I suppose you could grow your own and make it for yourself.
That's right.
That would not be illegal, but you'd have to know how to do it.
It might be illegal. You cannot grow it unless you have a permission.
Oh, I see. So
But heck, where is the inspector, right? Like you just told me about the meat plant that hasn't been inspected in 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, who's going to inspect your backyard?
Yeah, your neighbor.
Yeah, your neighbor. Your neighbor is going to turn you in.
He's going to probably want a couple puffs.
Or, well, who knows, right? And I'm not here to advocate for illegal activities.
Right, right. Okay, so is there anything else that we need to say when it comes to quality of CBD oils or legality of CBD oils? Well, let's actually, we had a discussion, I think, with somebody. I don't think it was on a blab, although I could be wrong. I think it was in our fibromyalgia group. So let's just go through some countries, because if you need CBD oil, hemp oil, we have them available at www.remarkablerecovery.com. There's, I think, 7 or 8 manufacturers listed there. Wonderful stuff. I love CBD hemp oil. So let's do a quick yes/no thing here. Can you ship to Canada?
I can ship. Canada is a really screwed up country because they have legislated that CBD is as regulated as any hemp. So it's fully regulated, fully not legal in Canada. Only people with prescription should be found in possession of it.
Okay.
And yet, nobody checks.
Okay. So you ship to Canada, no problem.
Hemp oil to Canada. I mean, you can buy hemp oil in Canada. In Canada, it's not going to have CBD in it. I'll ship you hemp oil that would have the CBD in it, and nobody's checking.
Okay, so let's go 50 states in the United States.
I can ship to all of them.
Okay, let's go the United Kingdom.
We have shipped many orders. I have heard from people saying, yes, it's legal. What's not legal, of course, is the THC marijuana.
Right, of course. And that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay, what about Australia?
Bizarre regulatory. We have had one order come back saying refused, rejected, and we sent it to the same client on another shipment and he received it. Okay. So I think it's regulated in such a way that you're not supposed to get it, but they get it anyway.
How can you stop when it's just a couple bottles coming in a package, right?
I think that's the problem.
Yeah. New Zealand?
Don't know. Don't have a statistical sample large enough to tell you.
Okay.
I think it's regulated to a point where New Zealanders are afraid to order it.
I see. What about the rest of Europe?
I've had problems with Germany and none other.
Okay.
So we have shipped to all of the other countries, no issues.
Okay. And all right. So on a kind of a side note, one of the other questions that came up in our fibromyalgia group was, what if I go traveling with it? And my quick answer was, well, just put it in your toiletry bag. Nobody's going to, who's going to go through your toiletry bag looking at lotions and potions for hemp oil, right? And I mean, when it's a little bottle like this, it's a big deal. I mean, if you're bringing a case, obviously that's going to be like a red flag, but we're talking very, very minuscule amounts. And when you look at the amount of packages that go back and forth over all these different borders, it's amazing, and then of course what makes the news is when 300,000 kilograms of heroin was caught at some border crossing somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And all I can think of is that wasn't the only one this week or this month or this year that tried to get across, but this is the only one we heard of. So
yeah. Well, I mean, many people travel with supplements these days. I don't see an issue why a person wouldn't be able to just simply say, well, these are my supplements.
Right.
What's this one? Essential oil.
Yeah, it's an essential oil. Essential oil of hemp.
Right. So what's in it? Essential fatty acids.
Yeah.
And terpenes.
I don't what's in essential oils of lavender. I guess lavender, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. No, I mean, I would just say, I don't know. My doctor told me I should bring it.
Use it because it keeps me calm. What?
Keeps me calm. Right?
What? What do you want? It keeps me calm.
I went through the Australian border when I was in my 20s with a little, um, I think it was like an old orange juice container, that had the top that you could screw back on. And I'd filled it up with sunflower seeds. And the custom guy looks at it and he's like, "What's this?" I go, "Sunflower seeds." And he looks like, "What? Sunflower seeds?" I said, "Well, it's supposed to be good for you." And he made some comment about like, "Yeah, right, sure, whatever." But he didn't know what to make of, this.
Was this on the way in or on the way out?
On the way out. Didn't know what to make of these seeds that, are you going to be planting this and smoking it when you get home or what?
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. I guess in the 70s, sunflower seeds were not as well known as they seem to be today, or at least not in Australia.
Australia has been particularly careful about letting botanicals in because they want to keep the island free of, I don't know what
invasive species.
Invasive species. So,
yeah, good for them on that. I think they learned from their rabbit experience.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk a little bit now before we go. We just got a few minutes left. Why should somebody seriously take a look at hemp oils?
Well, so these endocannabinoids settle into these two types of receptors, and they downregulate nervous function. So
if I'm a bit excited or hyper, it'll calm me down.
Yeah, so it deals with neurological things that are twitches, seizures, shaking. So if I were to call the medical labels on it, it would be things associated with the Parkinson's, the shakes, whatever. It'll all settle down. Seizures. The other one would be the moods, such as anxiety, depression. I don't know what else. What else moods would be extreme and unpleasant? Anger, yeah. Short-temperedness, road rage. So it will bring back towards the middle the function. So it will calm you down. It'll let you sleep.
If you're too calm, will it make you much more calmer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, for instance, if you're depressed already, well, no, it works for depressed people. I don't know.
So like you had said, and this was the reason I asked, is it brings you towards the middle. So if I'm hyper angry, anxious or whatever, it brings me to calm down. But if I'm like too calm, which we call being depressed or lethargic, it will give me a little bit of energy and bring me back to the center.
Yeah, it works like that. Yeah, balancing rather than... It's not a one direction shift. It's a normalization shift.
Yeah. You actually, it's a funny thing because in February and March, and a couple of weeks on either side, I was away for about 10 weeks in Central America. And I don't remember if I brought any hemp oil or not with me. I didn't bring very much. And regardless if I did or I didn't, I ran out. And at the end of my trip, I had a little twitch right here. Like it was just, and I was like really weird. And it would just sort of twitch up, involuntary, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that's kind of weird, right? I'm like, and I'd go like this and calm it down a little bit, but it would just sort of twitch. And then you mentioned twitching, and it reminded me of it. And I thought, I've been home now for a few months, and take a couple squirts under my tongue in the morning and in the evening. And of course the twitching is all totally gone. And it never, ever occurred to me that, I never thought about why it was twitching before. And it never occurred to me when it left or anything else, but yeah, it's kind
might have been that, and might have been magnesium deficiency.
Yeah. That's the other thing that magnesium gel has been going on all over the place. Well, I go to hot yoga, as you know. And oftentimes I have a bottle with me when I go, and I will put some on my shoulders, around my neck, and on my knees, because those are areas that are either tense or I've got a little bit of swelling. And I just think, I'm going to, that heat, the sweat, I'll just sort of mix it all up. And Yeah.
So relaxed.
Relaxed. It just really helps.
I think we've covered almost all of it, and I don't know. We should let people write in their questions and answer them.
Right. Yeah. If you have any questions or you want to join us, we've got 5 minutes left. Martin, if somebody wanted to learn more about hemp oil, what should they do?
We have a website dedicated to that. It's called remarkablerecovery.com. Our main store is called Life Enthusiast. The website is life-enthusiast.com. And I do answer the telephone sometimes directly, but I'm in the office at 866-543-3388.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. This has been the Life Enthusiast online radio, TV, and blab network. Scott Patton and Martin Patella wishing you a great day. And our mission is restoring vitality to you and to the planet. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.